Breaking news coming in. India have won their sixth match in a row in the 2015 World Cup, beating Zimbabwe by 6 wickets at Auckland. Chasing 288 for a win, India had a dismal start to their innings as both openers were dismissed cheaply. Virat Kohli and Ajinkya Rahane then revived the Indian innings with a 50-run stand. But Zimbabwe struck once again, getting rid of both Rahane and Kohli in quick succession. But skipper MS Dhoni then joined forces with Suresh Raina and the duo showed some amazing stroke play and took India home. India winning their last pool match by 6 wickets and Dhoni overtaking Clive Lloyd with his 10th consecutive win as a captain. Obviously a great win for India out there. So even after Brendan Taylor played that fantastic knock and took Zimbabwe to 287, it was the partnership of Suresh Raina and MS Dhoni who took India home after 4 quick wickets were lost. Raina scoring 110 and MS Dhoni contributing beautifully with his 85 not out. Andrew, what would you say about this victory? India did make it difficult initially, losing 4 wickets with not too many runs on board.
Yeah, they looked a little circumspect early on, obviously trying to keep wickets in hand to set the platform for a fairly hearty chase at the back end of this game. However, I thought they rallied well. Both sides were probably in a similar position. They lost a couple of 3 early wickets, and then the lower to middle order, Dhoni again with Raina. So I think people were sort of talking about Suresh and not having enough time in the middle. So that today's innings for him will be important for him and probably the whole group. He spent a good deal of time in the middle. Dhoni's just rammed home again why he's one of the best finishers in the game.
You make a very important point out there, Andrew, because in the initial games, the Indian openers were playing really well. Virat Kohli came in and hit some really amazing runs, Ajinkya Rahane. The people who weren't scoring were MS Dhoni and Suresh Raina. But in last 2 matches, both these players have performed exceptionally, and obviously Team India going to the knockout stages with all that confidence.
Yeah, you're spot on. Confidence is probably a big thing at this particular point in the competition. Things are about to really step up. The next game that India play, they can be knocked out of the World Cup. So you want everyone firing and confident with how they're playing their cricket, and I think that's exactly what India have got at the moment. Everyone's had a good hit out. Fitness is good, and they've done a good job today in chasing that total down.
But like you were mentioning, Zimbabwe will be disappointed. They started off really well as far as their bowling is concerned, and they did drop Raina. So at that stage, had Raina been dismissed, India would have been in a much more trouble.
Yeah, Zimbabwe did very well to get themselves back into the game. Taylor played a very, very good innings in his last one-day international appearance. And they got themselves to a very respectable total and then put India under pressure with some early wickets. And then, yes, when they dropped Suresh, I think he was on sort of 46, something like that. It would have made the game very interesting. Then Dhoni would have had to have batted with the Indian lower order, which may have made things a little more difficult. But in saying that, Suresh took his opportunity. But in a semi-final or a quarter-final, you won't get a chance like that. So interesting. Shame for Zimbabwe, obviously, but a good game of cricket in the end.
If you look at this game, Andrew, obviously the way India played in Australia and the way they've played in New Zealand have been different.
Yeah, the New Zealand grounds are very small. So we were talking earlier this morning about the size of the grounds there and how much you can actually chase down in the last 10 overs. You really can chase 10 and over in New Zealand comfortably. That particular ground, it's actually built for rugby. So it's very, very small, all dimensions, square and straight. So if you get someone in at the end like a Dhoni and a Raina, if they really do need to step it up, you can clear the fence there a lot easier.
Andrew, we will go across to Shivani, who's joining us live from Auckland. Shivani, obviously the fans must be really happy, but Team India did make it a little difficult, not as comfortable as their first 4 wins in Australia.
Oh, that's right. In the middle, when we lost those 4 wickets, it seemed very, very difficult. But Indian fans happy after the India win today? Yeah! Did you think or worry about India at all in the middle?
Nah.
No. Super confident that India was going to win despite losing 4 wickets?
Zimbabwe would take it until the partnership with MS Dhoni and Suresh Raina.
Teams India and New Zealand are having quite an identical tournament, isn't it? First 5 games they dominated, and then the next one they were troubled by a relative.
That's great, Shivani. I'm sure everybody in Auckland out there is very excited. In breaking news coming in, India have won their 6th match in a row in the 2015 World Cup, beating Zimbabwe by 6 wickets at Auckland. Chasing 288 for a win, India had a dismal start to the innings as both openers were dismissed cheaply. Virat Kohli and Ajinkya Rahane then revived the Indian innings with a 50-run stand. But Zimbabwe struck once again, getting rid of both Raina and Kohli in quick succession. But skipper MS Dhoni then joined forces with Suresh Raina, and the duo showed some amazing stroke play and took India home. India winning their last pool match by 6 wickets, and Dhoni overtaking Clive Lloyd with his 10th successive win as a captain. Andrew, talking about MS Dhoni, it's not just India's 6th consecutive win in the World Cup, but it is his 10th, and with that win he actually overtakes Clive Lloyd as the 2nd most successful World Cup captain. A word on him.
Well, to me it's a bit of an irrelative statistic, because if India lose their next game, they're not going to be talking about Dhoni's record and Clive Lloyd's record. They'll be out of the World Cup. And a team really is only as good as its men within it. Look, don't get me wrong, he's been a fantastic cricketer, and he's finished another game with Suresh Raina here today. But those sorts of statistics in a World Cup become very irrelevant once you get to this quarter-final stage. His captaincy's been very good though. He's led his men well, and they've responded well to him.
Bori, I'll come to you now. Like Andrew was talking about, statistics don't really matter. What matters is the team's performance. But if we look at Dhoni, he has shown to both the occasions. He's risen to the occasion as far as the match against Ireland was concerned, and even today when India needed him to, Dhoni played a brilliant innings.
He did. I agree with Andrew about the statistics though. He's absolutely right. If you lose the match against Bangladesh, all of this will mean nothing. It will mean absolutely zero after you win the 6. And the first thing that comes to mind is West Indies in 1996, who knocked out South Africa after South Africa had won all 715 from Brian Lara and chapter closed South Africa. So that way India has to guard. Having said that, Dhoni played brilliantly. I mean, 90 for 4, you finished the game off with 4 downs with 6 wickets. And the way he mastered the innings, you could see he was controlling Suresh Raina as well. Every time Suresh Raina wanted to go for a shot and was trying something interesting or innovative or risky, Dhoni was controlling the innings quite beautifully. So yes, captaincy has been stellar. It's been a fantastic World Cup for Dhoni, for Team India. But Radhika, the tournament starts on the 18th. What has happened is fast. Tournament actually starts on the 18th, and all these 6 victories mean nothing. Can you ask Andrew 2 questions? One, would you have preferred a hard-fought victory like this going into the quarterfinals rather than an easy victory? Because this will start against complacency. And 2, now that India this happened and this the way India won today, do you think that this is now a well-oiled machine ready for Bangladesh and there will be no sense of complacency whatsoever?
Andrew, would you like to respond to that? What Boria is basically asking is that would India be happy to have played a difficult match ahead of the quarterfinals, and now going into the match against Bangladesh, would they obviously be more confident because they've played a difficult match and not the easy wins that they've had in Australia?
Yeah, as in regards to conditioning a team to get ready for finals, you do want to have some heavier hit-outs before you get there, and as I spoke about earlier, the whole sort of team now has had some good time in the middle. If they've had a bit of a break after that triangular series in Australia, so they'll all be back match fit again, and things are looking good. So to have a good hit out today and be stretched a little bit, and for Raina to score 100, Dhoni to ram home his authority in finishing games, it's an ideal position for India to be in.
We are talking about India's sensational win against Zimbabwe in their last pool match, but what we also need to talk about is the Zimbabwe batting. Andrew, after all, Brendan Taylor played a fantastic knock today. It's not just the Indians who performed well, he was magnificent in his last ODI.
He was, and it was a game that he had no choice. For his team to compete in this game, he had to stand up, and he did. Now I think he's the highest run scorer in ODI cricket for Zimbabwe as a country. So You know, a proud moment for him, I suppose, surpassing that and scoring 100 in his last international match. And I believe now he's going over to play in England as a Colpack player. So he's still got good years of cricket in him. So you know, hopefully he can make a good go of it over there now.
But Zimbabwe will obviously be disappointed to lose a player like him, considering he is one of their most significant players.
Yeah, and his experience, you know, in these smaller sides, the experienced men, when they lose them, they leave a huge hole. So they'll miss his experience. You could see a little bit of that experience not having played a great deal of international cricket. At the end of their innings, you know, they fell away. They lost wicket after wicket after wicket, and it choked their total down in the end. You know, if they had scored another 15 or 20 runs, takes them up over 300, then that becomes a psychological you know, mark for India to have to surpass. It's that 300 mark's sort of the magic figure you're aiming for always in one-day cricket. So a little bit of inexperience there, and he'll leave a huge hole.
Obviously, Andrew, you mentioned it during the mid-innings as well, that say a 280, 290 on the pitches in New Zealand, the way the boundaries are small, is more like a 250 target. So India, do you feel India did you know, make it an easy chase, leaving aside obviously the initial slips that they had? Yeah,
I mean, if you break the game down and we start from when Raina and Dhoni got together, in the end it was a comfortable speed to their chase. They never were in a situation where they were really having to force the situation. So for me, watching it, if they needed to get another, say, 20 or 30 runs, I think they would have still have achieved that. They would have been under pressure, obviously slightly more, and they may have lost a couple more wickets in chasing it down. But they still had some up their sleeve, I felt, and they did it comfortably in the end.
Bori, I'd like to get you into the discussion now. We've been talking about Dhoni, but the man of the match, Suresh Raina, played an absolute brilliant innings. He was dropped early on in his innings, but the way he played today, he will take a lot of confidence going into the knockout stage.
He will, absolutely. And, you know, they tried testing him with the short ball. Initially, they were sort of bouncing him, and to come out of that and score the way he did, yes, Hamilton Masakadza dropping that catch for me is the turning point. At that point in time, 157 for 5, with Ravindra Jadeja not in form and then only Ravi Ashwin to follow, could have been different and could have been difficult for India. Having said that, Suresh Raina getting this 100, Mahendra Singh Dhoni 85 not out, India will take a lot of heart going into the quarterfinals. Everybody's got a hit except Ravindra Jadeja. Everybody else has scored runs. Dhoni finishing 2 matches now, West Indies and this one, will take a lot of confidence going forward. So yes, Indian team is in prime shape. There is no doubt about it. Only problem, Ravindra Jadeja. Ask Andrew. Would he have liked again to have promoted Ravindra Jadeja? Maybe up the order, would have given him a bit of a hit against Zimbabwe, because this was an inconsequential game.
Andrew?
Yeah, in theory it's a good theory, but then who do you move? Because leading into the quarter-final game, all the batsmen are going to want to have a hit and spend some time in the middle. So I think they would have all been reluctant to move aside to allow him to have a hit, because you know, some of them haven't scored some runs. Rowett would probably like a few more, and I mean, Shaker Dhawan would probably like to score some more runs as well. He scored plenty, but it's always nice to get a score under your belt before going into a big game. It just gives you confidence, that little boost that you can sometimes need to call on.